Bam. How's that? Bam. Bam. There you go. That's pretty much it. Film done. Now this is just the build to cover the oh. Yo, there's the building. And this is just to go over how to paint this building, primarily to cover the grays and things like that. But anyway, welcome to Platypus Scotsman. Glad you could join me. We'll cover this building and how to paint it. And but first off, if you'd like to see pictures of the progress of this or sneak peeks as far as stories are concerned, jump on over to Platypus Scotsman on Instagram and you'll be able to see the progress pictures or sneak peeks on this as far as what I am doing. But anyway, let's jump into it, shall we? There you go. Okay, so what we've done so far is we've hit this with a Panzer flat gray. Let's move this building out of the way so you can actually see the spray can. Just a rattle can and hit it with Panzer flat gray. And then the idea was coming on a 45, but the problem is with this color right here, this lighter sea gray, I want to come down on a 45 so you'd have shadows on the bottom like that. I sprayed in low light, so I actually hit it more than I actually wanted to. So didn't quite get the effect. I wanted more gray than that. Like right here was pretty good, but I wanted more gray, just so it had some contrast up here a little bit. But it is what it is. That's kind of the idea, is just kind of hit it on a 45 like that, but not as heavy as I did. I should have shot in better light. I was outside. I didn't do it. Now what I'm gonna do a wash. I have this charcoal right here and just put some in a little cup and gonna put some water in it. Gonna test it out and see how it flows. And it's a little too thick for me, so I will dilute it with this. Mix a little bit more water in it, see how that works. Kind of rob Peter to pay Paul in some respects. I'm gonna try to do it a side at a time just to make it easier on myself. And when it starts to pool right here, I'm probably gonna go and just wick a little bit of it away where it's still really wet, just so it doesn't kind of look odd. But I wanna make sure I get everything really well the first time around. And also the idea is to do from the top down, that way I can just move the wash down as I go. It's not really to really cover or to, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just want it to go in the creases to show a little bit more depth is all, so some of the panels show up better and things like that. That's all I'm really trying to do. You don't need a lot to do that. Make sure you mix your wash too from time to time, just to re-stir it up so all your pigment doesn't settle to the bottom like it just did and it was kind of getting really diluted. I don't want that to be the case. This is a cabinet gray, it's just a light gray. And I'm just gonna go over it with a dry brush. And dry brush is just removing paint from, getting paint on your paintbrush and then removing it ever so slightly. And I kind of want to just do a top down. If I get streaks on it, since it's wet and the material it is, I can kind of smooth it out with my finger if I have to. I just want to lighten things up, and also kind of want to, on a panel right here, need to get more paint off my brush before I do that. On panels like this, I just kind of want to shade it up a little bit, kind of make it a different color. Not totally go over it and kind of blur the weathering line, not a ton, but just to kind of give it a softer look. And in the same aspect, I want to come down mostly, just so the light is kind of showing as it comes down and not up. But that's just a rule of thumb. If I hit some areas I might want to do differently. But I definitely want to give it another tone, especially in places like this. Kind of just want to lighten it up a little bit, maybe on this panel too. As I go along, it's just going to be more by feel than anything. I don't want to totally drown out the color beneath it. I just kind of want to, it's more of an accent, just to give it a little bit more variety. And same with on the panels right here as well. Get some more light on it right there. Just kind of bring it up a little bit, but that's what I'm gonna do over the whole building. Is this first coat or this first layer, just so there's more than just a couple two-tones of gray. And like I said, I just kind of want to smooth some of this out so it's not so dramatic, but I don't want to remove the dark underneath it either. And when this is all done, I will go back and do some more weathering on it as I see fit. But this is what I'm going to do right now. Just add another color. I want this to kind of be a really grayish type building, and then when there is color on it, the color will really stand out and pop. But this is just the basic base coat is what I'm going to be doing. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm doing sandstone dry brush. This is a lot lighter and it's actually a contrast color. I want to try to remove almost all the paint from my brush and be very careful and actually start on edges like this to where if I get a little bit more on there, it doesn't really matter. And this you can dry brush for a long time, and right now I'm just not putting hardly any pressure on the paintbrush at all. And I'm just hitting the edges ever so slightly. And that's all this is, just to bring out the highlights. And it's a really heavy contrast color. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of continue to work it. And like on a panel like this, I might just run the brush along the edge until that edge starts to crisp up, whatever. And just do that. And then in the corner, you can also kind of just keep hitting more and more. And my air conditioner came on, and I forgot to turn it off. So that's my bad. And hopefully you can still hear me. But this is what you're doing. I did it up here on the top. And you can kind of see where I went along. And I just wanted to highlight this a little bit more and bring it out. And it kind of adds more contrast and more depth to the piece. And then where I did gray, I did a little bit more. And obviously on the edges like this, I want to do more and bring that up to where that pops, and then the top of this. And then if I get streaks, I want to try to remove that as much as possible. And then just hit all the edges to where like this, and make that crisp right there. And just go along and do that. And that's what I'm going to do the rest of the building. But just really slight, and it's because it's such a high contrast, I don't want to do overkill on this part. And just hit that and work down as if light is hitting from the top, as I've said before, and just keep doing that. On some of these areas, I might have to go side to side just to make sure I really get it, but that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so far what I've done is I just base coat that black, and I'm starting to do this silver. It's gonna take me a few coats. All the windows are gonna be silver, and then I'll do some highlights on that. But right now, I'm using Vallejo monocolor bronze, and I'm gonna start doing some of the detailing work like hinges and handles and things like that. Just little details here and there. And just gonna go around the whole thing and just kind of fill some of these details in. And I just want to do bronze because I want a kind of an old style look. I don't know if that's really an old style look, but that's what I want, so that's what I'm painting. Anyway, I'm gonna go around and do this to several pieces, and then we'll come back to that. So I painted the door Aberlin Sunset, this right here. Yeah, that one. And I'm gonna wait till it's done. I've gone around and painted all the knobs black because I'm gonna do those kind of like a jewel. And right now I'm just gonna dry brush some bronze, the same color I've been using before on just the little accents. And I'm gonna dry brush on the black, this black trim that goes around the front part of the building. I wanna make sure I have very little paint on here when I do it. I wanna make sure my brush is sideways like this. Let's kind of do that and keep going and put more on the dry brush on there so I can kind of get I don't know what I'm really going for. I just want gold I want bronze on this part of it, this metal, but I also want it black too. I want to make sure I don't go in the recesses. And just to get more coats on them, I just might have to let this side dry a little bit more. So I'll work my way around over here. For the gems, I'm going to use corn red, and then wild rider red, and troll slayer orange, and fire dragon bright. I'm just going to paint the jewels. I'll first kind of slice down with the red, and then this will cover most of it. Then I'll come back a little bit of that, and then this, and then that. Now for the next color, wild rider red. I changed my mind because I was small there. I'm going to jump to the last color, which is fire dragon bright. And I'm just going to go along the edge. Right here and towards the bottom. The final step is just a white dot in the upper left-hand corner where it's black. Just up there. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can put a white dot down here, just right right there too, if you want. Just like that, and you're pretty much done. You can spend more time on it if you want, but I have a lot to paint, so I'm not doing that. Gonna kill two birds with one stone on this one. Going to paint Druchii Violet up here. I'm going to paint Druchii Violet up here, and on the doors I'm going to paint Sepia. The reason why is I need to keep it flat so the wash or the shade goes down in the cracks and doesn't settle awkwardly. I'm just going to tilt it so you can see it, but then I want to level it out. Now let's keep that flat and let it dry. And make sure I don't put any fan or anything like that on there, because if I do, it goes all shiny and looks ugly. For a lot of the coloration of this building, I want to keep the base color as gray and do shades so there's still that feel of the gray beneath it. I don't want to cover it completely like I did here, or the purple, or the door. Everything else I kind of want to do in shades. So this is Fiangan orange. It's orange. I don't know how to pronounce it. And what I want to do is just want to hit the bottom of the building, this serrated edge, or this rough edge, and just kind of tint it orange a little bit. Not too heavy, but just enough to give it a slight tint. This way it still has the base gray beneath it. I don't know if that makes any sense. And that's what I'm going to do with a few other things too, is I'm just going to use shades to try to keep the base color and just highlight with some, tint it with some shades is all. Okay, what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and make these neon. So I just put some white on my brush. I'm just going to try to dry brush ever so lightly on the edge, and I still have too much paint on my brush. I'm going to have to really remove most of the paint off my brush to get the effect that I want. It may take a little bit of effort. You could airbrush it and do a quick work of it, but I'm not gonna. Let's get that in the frame. This may take a little bit of effort, I guess, or take a while. Yeah, I'll keep doing that and see how it turns out. Now that all the base layers are done, I'm going to start doing some graffiti. I have to get that done before I can do the final weathering. I think I just broke that pipe. Yep, I did. I'm going to have to glue that pipe in. I'm just going to freehand all this, and then I'm going to use decals for other stuff. Nothing particular, just going to mess around and do some whatever happens to happen. Just something like that. And then I'll kind of dry my brush off a little bit and just kind of give it a spray paint look and go from there. And then I'll just do more, and then when I get to the decals, I'll show the decals. All right, this is pretty straightforward. On the back of this AK decal set for graffiti, it gives you the instructions on how to do it. You just cut them out like I did right here, cut that one out, and then cut this one out here, and just get water. Do it in water until you start to see them separate, and then you put it on. All right, it's got a little bit of water, and just drop it in. Make sure it's totally submerged. I'm not sure how long. Let me see how long it says to keep it submerged. About 20 seconds. Just gonna see if it slides. Not quite. Put that back in. You don't want to leave it in too long, because then it'll actually separate from the paper altogether, and then you have a real fun time. That just doesn't want to move. Okay, it's barely starting to move. There we go. Now, in order to move it, you can just put a little bit of water on it and just kind of position it where you want it. And I want it right there. It hangs over a little bit, so I'll put that down there. And then just get a cloth and kind of dab it. I'm gonna call the graffiti done. You can just keep going and going and going, but at some point in time, you gotta call it quits. But now I'm gonna go through with sepia and just kind of start weathering things here and there with just sepia. And then I'm gonna go around with no oil and do the same thing. Just kind of give it some weathered looks, some runs and some drips, rust, different things like that. Not gonna go overpowered at first. I just want kind of a layer of grime to show. And sepia does a good job of that, especially on this lighter kind of grayish material. Around some of the hinges. Just want to off color it at first. And then, you know, as I do it, I'll look, and if I want more, I'll just keep adding more and more. But that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm just gonna go around and weather some things. Make sure I streak it straight down when I do. And since sepia is a shade, it's a GW shade, you want to be able to do it in layers. And plus, that's how nature works anyway, so that's what I'm gonna do. That's the other thing you can do too, is if you get too much on it, you can drag it down with your finger, and it just kind of smears and has a different looking effect. Okay, just want to point out a few things that apparently I missed. One is just I put some grime underneath here and just some sepia. I didn't go crazy on this building like I have on other buildings as far as weathering is concerned, just because I was done, to be the brutal honest truth. I did some graffiti in here. So this is a decal right here, Harley Quinn. That's a decal, that's a decal, that's a decal, and that's a decal, and everything else is freehand. So one of the things I did with the airbrush look is I got a brush like you would dry brushing, like this, and it was more narrow as the other one that I really don't care about. This is my fine tip one. Oh, that's a decal too right there, sorry. But I just kind of got a little bit on there and just kind of stippled around the edge of each one of these to kind of give it just a blur the lines like it might have been airbrushed. I didn't do it on all of them, I did it on some, just kind of give the variation. This I got from an idea online. Same with this little guy right here. That's Platypus Scotsman, which will probably end up being on pretty much everything. Another thing I did too is I went around with Drucci Violet on the bottom of this and sepia on the bottom of this, just kind of darken up the bottom of the edges. Did a little bit of Drucci Violet here, and oh, that's just a freehand kiss of death, just some lips and kiss of death. And the windows, I didn't. they were extremely frustrating as far as the windows are concerned. I didn't really know what to do, and so I just gave up. But so I did some streaks of, it's a blue shade. I can't remember, I think it's nightshade. I did some streaks of that, did some streaks of white. Didn't like that, so I came back and dry brushed with silver over top of it, just kind of mute it. And this up here, dry brush really didn't work out the best ways possible. I ended up putting some white in there and blended it with some Drucci Violet and just kind of did a circle and then dry brushed over a little bit. And that was, I don't know, that was frustrating. I probably should have done it with airbrush, but that's kind of what I don't want to do. I want to show people how to kind of pull things off without an airbrush. And so that's what I did with these right here is I really didn't, I just kind of did a white blend in here and just kind of blurred the lines a little bit. And this is just a green shade on these. I did some green here. What else did I do? Oh, as far as the set's concerned on the decals right here, so there's these two micro scale sets right here. This one I put down first to help dissolve it a little bit and get the solution, then I put this one down second. I don't think it dissolves the plastic in them like some other scale model things that I've done in the past, but other things I've done where I really had to press on this one right here and really work this one to get this kind of to conform. After I did this, I had to work with it with my tweezers and kind of really push it down. And then I also did some shade in here, just kind of give that. Now if I really want to make this look like it was more hand painted, I'd probably actually go back and highlight these edges right here, but I'm fine with this as far as it's concerned. But all the doors have a number by them. Just kind of label them, and then this right here has a number by it. It's also off the Bulldog tank. I just did things randomly, just kind of give it more of a like it's on purpose type feel. And then I think that is pretty much it. Oh, I did go along the bottom of this right here, and I did some dry brush and silver, a little bit of gold first and silver on the very edge. It's not overpowering, so it's really hard to notice. I also did some object source lighting on this, just put a little bit of purple here just to show that these might actually be glowing. Well, that's the build. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something from it. A couple things to note on the freehand. I didn't cover the freehand because I was noticing that I was having a difficult time with the particular setup that I have to keep things in focus, especially when I was focusing on the gems. Just because of the building, it would focus on different parts, and I'm still learning how to do that, so I didn't focus on that. And plus my setup's really not geared to do fine detail like some of the other, like Miniac or somebody else that does painting. I'm just not geared to do that as far as what I'm set up to do. But if you have any questions, comments, let me know down below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. And but most of all, if you subscribe to the channel. I notice there's a lot of viewers who don't subscribe, and also helps the channel out. If you want to see more of this, like I said before, hop over to Instagram. We also have a Facebook page called Platypus Scotsman. We have a Facebook group called Platypus Scotsman Lounge. You can check it out. If you have any questions, comments, like I said before, let me know. Oh, I did explain the purple, but that was really a frustrating part on this. And I could have went more with detail, but I was pretty much done, I'm not gonna lie. And plus, to be honest, I did want the building to be muted. I didn't want it to be to stand out a lot or to really jump. If I go back and kind of get a wild hair, I might go back and fix something, but I wanted the graffiti to really pop. And I also wanted the graffiti to only be on the back side of the building and not be on the front. I'm kind of frustrated with the silver, but I don't know what to do to fix it, and I'm kind of past that point anyway. I just want to appreciate those who support me on Patreon. I'm grateful for that. I don't put a lot on there. I need to put more on there. It's more of a just appreciation. If you like this channel, feel free to support over on Patreon. Remember, my mother used to always say that anyone can do art, but most importantly, hang out with your family, tell them you love them, and your friends or whoever is close to you in your life, and let them know you care, and have fun in your hobby. And that's pretty much it. And this is done. Bye. See ya. So long. Farewell. Until next time. Jazz hands.
Bye.